Hey guys, so I was watching a video on Psychsubstance's channel this morning, and he made a couple points about Kratom that I just have to dispute. The first one is that Kratom is not an opioid, it's actually a partial mu agonist, so it's actually the same type of pharmacological action as buprenorphine. To call a chemical that's not acting on the opioid receptors not an opioid is pharmacologically incorrect. I realize that we're trying to argue and say that, okay, this chemical is different, but it's different from the other opioids on a biopsychosocial model, not on the fact that it has pharmacological action at opioid receptors or not. The second part so it does get you high. The second part of this is that he says it does not get you high, and it absolutely gets you high. At the end of his video, he says, you don't want me to see me nodding off, for example, but literally if you're nodding off, it's because you're under the influence of opioids. And I'm not just saying this as a naive bystander, like I was an opiate addict for 13, 15 years. So I have a lot of experience with all of them, heroin, morphine, OxyContin, everything. And so I also want Kratom to be legal. I also think that there are benefits to having this legal in our culture. Now, when we look at the reasons why it's better than the other ones, we have to ask the biopsychosocial model. So socially, why is it better? Well, walking around with needle marks in your arm and stealing from people is not going to make you socially acceptable. Psychologically, you won't accept yourself if you're risking your life and hanging around people who steal from you and you're stealing yourself or whatever, you're going to jail. You're going to be depressed and unhappy with yourself. Biologically, you're risking overdose, you're risking infectious disease if you're an IV user. So by taking an oral kratom substance, something that you can control the dose of, something that is socially acceptable and so psychologically also acceptable, there's so many, all these aspects make it just a better drug to consume, a more reasonable drug to consume for a person. So again, real quick, the mu opioid agonism makes it the opioid. It is an opioid, don't confuse it with saying it's not. The second part of this is it does get you high. It absolutely gets you high. If it didn't have the dopaminergic reward reinforcing effects, you wouldn't keep taking it. So let's be honest and let's try to put out the right information so that as we're making these changes in our culture, we are moving like scientists, not like people who are just trying to get their way. We want to get our way, we deserve to have this, but we also need to talk like scientists. And that's not to say I don't like Psychsubstance channel. His channel is amazing. He's one of the few channels online you can get a lot of information from about chemicals so that we're not just in the dark. Again, those were just 2 points I wanted to come back on. And if you guys have questions, I have a lot of experience in this realm of the world. Love to answer your questions.